Hello and welcome to whatever the fuck this is. My name is Kylie and here with me is no one else. Oh, except Tris, but he's actually being good. He's lying down because I just fed him, so hopefully he won't be such a vilchaya this time. I'm going to be doing another Ask Roundup kind of thing for anything submitted to my blog, GoT Gifts and Musings, because it's just super hard to keep up otherwise. And then obviously you can find my writing about Game of Thrones and other people's coverage of Game of Thrones that like are on this vein on thefundamentals.com. Yeah, let's just jump into it. These are probably going to be centered around episode 1 of season 7, Dragonstone, because that's just, you know, when I got the asks submitted. But let's dive in. First, however, I've received a ton of questions about Confederate, which is like, I pulled out 2 of them because I think it's a little bit important to talk about, but for anyone who doesn't know, well, yeah, it's D&D's next project, which is a Civil War reinterpretation in which the Confederacy won and slavery is still legal, so I guess it's a dystopia. And I can think of no one better to handle it than the 2 people who couldn't even deal with fictional slavery. So, yay. Malignant Benign said, that Confederate show is so perfect for D&D, another fictional world where they can constantly showcase marginalized people being abused, tortured, and killed by one-dimensional anachronistic strawmen, which they can defend by saying it's true to the world it's in while ignoring consistency and internal logic at every turn. For no other thematic purpose than, this is bad, look how progressive and enlightened we are, trying to be anti-Trump with nothing but patronizing moral grandstanding. The negative response its announcement has received is maybe briefly hopeful that the project will finally makes wider audience realize D&D are hacks who hid behind the brilliant author, but then I thought about authors of color who probably have to defend their racist choices, the actors of color who will probably have to defend the racist choices. And next, Ramin Djawadi, who will make this crap seem better with his amazing score. Yeah, he almost convinced people for Westworld. And then a look back on, I'm sorry, that I think I copied and pasted it wrong. And then Temporally said, oh god, I just realized D&D's modern-day Civil War show is almost certainly going to have a slave owner be in a relationship with one of his slaves. Then they'll totally not understand inherent problems with consent in the situation. God, this is depressing. Yeah, you're both right. These are a lot of my thoughts. My biggest thought is really that this is absolutely not what we need in our current cultural context. D&D are coming from a very privileged position to think that we can just wade into this kind of, like, fucking ridiculous dystopian porn when we have, you know, the alt-right, aka Nazi movement on the rise again in this country. So maybe giving them basically porn where, you know, there's still slavery. Maybe that's a little bit irresponsible. So who the fuck greenlit this? And then D&D being the ones to showcase it, like, just, oh my god, it's unspeakable. And yeah, Temporally, that thing with the relationship with one of the slaves, you're completely right. They do that because they don't understand slaves can't give consent at all. So I'm really not happy with that. I'm very much rooting for that project to crash and burn. Hopefully, I think there's good reasons behind why I'm doing that, but oh my god, that was just like, I logged on, I saw I had 17 messages, so I was like, okay, what the hell happened? It's all about Confederate, and just, what is anyone thinking? What is anyone thinking right now? Alright, on to Game of Thrones. Draffy said, honestly, nothing ticks me off more than the liberal use of the North remembers. Like, no, the Starks remember, the rest of the Northern houses just kind of go with the flow. Stop using it! I know it's a cool phrase, but you have drained it of all its meaning. Well, in season 5, that one old lady remembered, and she said she remembered, but then Ramsay flayed her. And then I would have thought the Carwins remembered, but I don't think anyone fought alongside them but the Mormonts. And Lyanna was convinced by zombies, and Dava was kind of talking down to her. So, yeah, this is why Julie and I titled our retrospective, The North Can't Be Bothered. The North remembers just is so hollow, because obviously no one remembers shit, except, like, I don't know, maybe Sansa remembers how no one rose for her. This is just dumb. And Yara of Time said, quote, Ramsay was the new Joffrey. I think Ramsay was a great character and played by a great actor, Ian Ryan, but for me, Ramsay is 100% evil. I think Euron is not, which makes things a bit more conflicted with him. I'm more like a hooligan, and that's Euron's actor, Pelal Absbek, I can't pronounce his name. A hooligan? He's a hooligan. Oh, I'm just chaotic neutral. No, like, he's a fucking asshat. I just can't wait to, he's more conflicted? What, he's conflicted about how he goes about hooliganing it up? Like, what's the conflict? He just seemed like a really, you know, I don't understand what they're going for and how we're supposed to earnestly fear this guy when he opens the scene being like, oh, my niece and nephew were so mean and stole my fleet. Like, okay. And then he's gonna go hooliganing it up, and you know, if the spoilers are correct, then he's gonna have some really fun villain Sue moments. Okay, cool. If this is what you have to do to bring this to the role, then fine. Alright, someone else said, okay, are they trying to say that Dany's fleet and Euron's fleet never crossed paths or even spotted each other when Euron sailed into King's Landing? Despite both of them sailing the Narrow Sea and with Dany's fleet being at Dragonstone, maybe D&D should consult and study the floor map, because no, that's bullshit. Oh no, see, what happened was Dany was still sailing to Dragonstone, and then the Iron Fleet just went whoop whoop, and then Dany took Dragonstone, which no one took, because it's not, like, why would anyone take it? It's an empty, yeah. Yeah. Obviously, just, like, they did a little fast movement. But I think my favorite part is that Euron brought the entire Iron Fleet to have, like, one conversation when this alliance wasn't sure or anything, and that, like, Cersei must have sent a fucking raven, because she didn't send a messenger. Who she have sent, like, one of her space Nazis there? I mean, the Queen's Guard, for anyone who didn't listen to our Unabashed Book Snobbery podcast, which you definitely should do, and I'll link it in the thing where you link things. Okay, I have so many questions. Who's Mira? What are her wants and passions? She was talking about, like, omelets or something with Hodor last season, wasn't she? Does she have a family somewhere? Swamp people. Does she still grieve for her brother? It's complicated. What about Davos? Sand mentions that he has a wife. Where is she? Does Davos hate her? Why doesn't he come back to her after Stannis died? Why does he love Jon so much? What's in it for him? Wouldn't it have made more sense if he returned home and joined Dany? You know, Davos looked into Jon's eyes and just saw something. And after Jon's amazing leadership and military decisions, Davos is just completely on board, obviously. Why can Gilly stay at the Citadel? Is she consulting maesters to diagnose her son's growth disorder? Yeah, he, like, shot off. Wow, he grew. Almost as if he grew a year. I actually think she's staying in Old Town and Sam's hiding her, and they just don't notice Sam sneaking out, which is, take your pick if that's dumber than them suddenly being accepting of women. Weird question. I just genuinely can't remember, and I've been thinking about it. Does the show ever reveal who sent the assassin with Bran? With the dagger in the books, it was Joffrey after hearing Robert. Isn't it? Yes, it is. It was Joffrey. Honestly, can't remember if it's talked about. No, I guess Catelyn kind of just, like, stopped caring. No. Do you guys have any plans to talk about Stannis? He was one of the show's greatest victims and deserves some love. We are going to plan a Stannis Unabashed Book Snobbery podcast that would just be about A Song of Ice and Fire. But in terms of talking about Stannis on the show, I mean, we talked about him, or I talked about him, I guess, because I wrote this alone, in my Winter Hell recap from Season 5, my retrospective for Season 5. And we talked about it in one of the, like, I think it was our Unabashed Book Snobbery 3, where we went through and ranked the worst plot lines and their butchery just in a more general sense. So we talked about him there. I mean, they're kind of shitting on his grave with, like, everything that's going on. Yeah, but to collect our thoughts on Stannis and write one post, I mean, I'm just... You know, let me do the A Song of Ice and Fire podcast on him. If I feel compelled to talk about the character, then we'll talk from there. But I'm not particularly won over by him. I'm just kind of like, all right, he exists. I find everyone else more interesting. Who owns the strongest plot armor, Johnny, Dany, or Arya? I'm assuming you mean the show. In which case, it would absolutely be Arya, because, like, she literally had her guts hanging out and she jumped into a river of, like, dirty water and she was totally fine. Like, Johnny died and was rezzed, but at least he was supposed to have that happen because, you know, it's a book moment. And then, I don't know, I mean, Deadpan's she's probably gonna make it for a while. Unless they kill her off so that Jon can be the one hero. You know, they probably would do that too. So are you telling me Dany arrived at Dragonstone, found no opposition, not even a locked door, and Missandei, Grey Worm, and Tyrion were just standing there in awe as she walked about, and the weather was fine, and the birds were singing, and the sun was shining, as if she had brought summer in her silver fake hair? D&D are ever so subtle about whom they want the audience to root for. Yeah, and they found this to be an episode closing, like, a moment worthy of closing the first episode, right? In the same way that, like, you know, Arya slaughtering the phrase was worthy of a cold open. And it's like, this was so disconnected. Like, we knew this was coming, but just because they showed previously on, like, Viserys mentioning home once, and Jess actually made a really good point in her review about, like, what home means to Dany in the books is totally different than what home means to Dany in the show. So check out the review if you haven't already. But yeah, like, they actually feel like this was an earned moment, and that, like, we'd all be like, oh, I'm so touched. She touched sand. I'm so... That got me right. That got me right on the dramatic satisfaction. I think it would be nice if you mentioned some little nice details instead of only the overwhelming negative stuff about the show. For example, how the 7-pointed star over the throne was replaced by the Lannister sigil, or other details like how the blue-eyed giant being referenced in the past, whom we finally saw last Sunday. You mean the blue-eyed giant named Matumbo? The Eye of the Giant that we all live in? You know, truthfully, Anon, we do say nice things about the show pretty frequently. Like, we always talk about how good it looks, and we talk about the stellar acting performances. We didn't happen to mention these two details. But also, like, you know, D&D, they're not, like, second graders presenting their fucking book report, and we're not trying to dissuade them from, like, doing a better job or anything. They're filleted by everyone. They don't need me being like, oh, good job. At this point, you know, you kind of almost expect sound editing and lighting and cinematography and the finer details and all of that and you know, set design, costume design. You expect all of that to kind of be good because of all the money they have thrown into it. Anonymous said, favorite character among these that isn't in the god-awful show. Jon Con, Arianne, Maya Stone, Victarion. He isn't in the show, right? You're new around here, aren't you? It's Vic. No, it's Arianne, hands down. She's my favorite character, or tied with Sansa, maybe. I don't know. I kind of fluctuate. I've gotten the most out of her, but she's absolutely, like, my favorite character. So, yeah, Arianne. I mean, I like Maya Stone. She's plucky. I'm not sure if you've addressed this yet, but when did the Hound start his redemption arc? I remember him last season murdering some folks in a gory fashion. Or maybe he's still on the Septon Ray arc, and we have to view his lashing out last season as a minor setback on his path to finding himself due to his mentor and friend being killed. I'm confused because I quite enjoy Sandor, but I feel like he's inconsistently written between seasons. Yeah, he's a walking chicken joke at this point. Yeah, I mean, the Shire nihilism bullshit fest of last year, like, how does this tie into him finding faith? How does this tie into him finding faith in, you know, R'hllor also, like, specifically, a fire-based faith? It's poetic because he was burned and now it means something to him that isn't Bernie, but at the same time, he saw rogue members of the Brotherhood Without Banners being the ones who sacked the Shire, and it was the nice Seven-loving Light of the Septon who got killed, so wouldn't he find religion in the Seven, although Ray said that he doesn't know the name of the gods and all the gods are actually the same? I fucking hate this show. To be honest, I'm surprised that the K9, the Hound, couldn't point out the exact date, time, and weather of the things he saw in the flame vision. You know, all the foreshadowing and build up to us finally seeing it and those brilliant CGI flames. Melly Sandsbrough must be so jealous wherever she is and whatever she looks like these days. Wow, I still get the shiver thinking the reveal that she's really an old lady who affected the plot. Oh my god, I fucking love the salt on this. Thank you, and keep it up. That really amused me. I'm looking at my timer, and I've been talking for 15 minutes somehow. So, yes, the K9 reading all of that shit and being so wonderful at it was nothing short of ridiculous. But I think I gotta get out of here, because YouTube cuts things at 15 minutes, right? That's what it used to do, and I need to figure that out. So yeah, I might do another one of these over the weekend, if this isn't too boring for people, I guess. I don't know what you want. And otherwise, seriously, thank you for I'm sorry, I'm still reading the ones I didn't get to. I'm really sorry. I tried. I'll talk faster. I'll chug some coffee and do more over the weekend. How's that? So I'll talk to you next time. Bye.